Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the BBO NYG podcast. We back. It's been a while. I'm Mike. That's Jules. John is not with us this week. Hopefully, he's be back next week. But Jules, man, a lot of news, a lot of stuff going on. The Bills are just cutting everybody, so I just assume they're all going to be Giants.
Like, oh, dude, yeah, right. You got, like, I was looking at that list kind of hard because I'm like, who are we gonna end up with this from this list?
It's got to be like the over under. Got to be like 4.5. I'll take the over. It's just gonna be a lot.
Yeah, bro, I think they cut like half their defense or something like that. Like their whole secondary is gone.
Yeah, the whole secondary, and then of course everybody's bitching like, oh, but it's because of Daniel Jones's contract, but referring to
right,
challenge. You know what I mean? Everybody's bitching about that. Like, what do you think about Daniel Jones and the news that Rich Eisen is coming out with and saying that the Giants are definitely done with him? This doesn't seem like the Giants' wages. You know how like information got leaked in previous with the Giants in years past before this new regime started? I think this is all just a fucking smokescreen. I do think they're going to draft a quarterback. I just don't think they're moving up from number 6 or staying at number 6 and drafting a quarterback. What do you think?
Listen, I'll tell you the truth. In all honesty, you're right. It's kind of all over the place because I've seen some stuff where like these mock drafts from CBS and all these other fucking like sites and whatnot that some will piss me off, and then others are like just the way they've been before before they hold the NFL Combine, and then others that are just like a little bit different, right? And like some of the ones I seen that pissed me off was I saw one where the Giants traded up to number 3, and they actually ended up taking JJ McCarthy there. I was like, bro, I'm pretty sure it was CBS that had it that way. That's why I mentioned that in the beginning. It's like, dude, they had some fucking
Jules,
whacked out one.
Jules, where do you have JJ? Speaking of JJ, where do you have him going in the first or second round? Or what do you think he's?
So, all right, here's the thing. Where do I think he's going to land? Based on the fact that Denver now released Russell Wilson, right? So there's been a lot of shit going on with just other teams around the league. That in place, Kirk Cousins is still uncertain with the Minnesota Vikings, right? You don't know what the Raiders are doing, to be honest with you there, because they not, Jimmy G's a free agent. So technically they don't have a quarterback unless they want to go with that rookie they had, O'Donnell, whatever the hell was there, right? So they're in the fucking market. Then obviously the top 3 teams with, the Bears and Washington and fucking New England. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking for a quarterback. Now there's a lot of decent, like average, veteran quarterbacks that are available in free agency because there's a list of those as well. So, I don't know, man, but like the way it looked, he looked okay in the combine, JJ McCarthy, but he wasn't outstanding. He was a little off. Some of his passes. I mean, dude, you're throwing in shorts and a t-shirt with no helmet on.
You think he's top 15?
No defense, and you're missing fucking receivers, dude. Like, I understand it's not the guys that your boys or whatever. But it's like, dude, come on, run a route that you're comfortable with.
You think he's top 15?
So I think he will go top 15.
But you don't think he's top 15 worthy, right?
Dude, I think he's a top 5 day 2 quarterback. That's my honest opinion.
Dude, I agree with you there. I mean, this is probably one of the few times we're gonna agree on this episode.
Yeah, right.
We talk later. But yeah, I agree with that. Actually, like if you want to hear my prospects on the QB, like in order who I like. It's gonna be this way, but we're not gonna agree here. It's gonna be Jaden first, right? Caleb
first, okay.
Right? Jaden, Caleb, Nix, Penix, May, and then JJ. He's my last one. And remember, I said last year, this is a draft for QB, so I think they're all gonna be okay. I just don't know who's gonna separate. I think Jaden has the ability to separate from the other guys. Maybe Caleb, probably. The potential busts, I would probably have to go JJ and maybe May, to be honest with you.
Here's one thing with
I like all.
Here's one thing with Caleb, right? Him not showing up and doing basically anything but interviews in the combine, and some of the way he answered some of those questions. Initially, my gut was red fucking flags, red flags, red flags, red flags. But then there was this small little part of me that said, "Holy shit, maybe this kid is that good." You know what I'm trying to say? Where it's like he's gonna shine. He's gonna be the next CJ Stroud coming into this year's NFL, right?
Right.
I don't know. I still have a lot of kind of like stuff that's pulling me back with him. You know, like just the fact that in college he never really beat any ranked teams. He just didn't seem to show up in the big game. You know, I
Yeah.
get it. He's always usually playing from behind, but like I don't know. There was just like there was just a lot of things that just kind of bugged me to say that this guy's the next guy. You know what I mean? Like, could he be a good NFL quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's going to be this fucking generational and in 3 to 4 years he's going to be competing with Pat Mahomes for Super Bowls?
Right.
No, I don't know yet. You know, I just
But
don't feel comfortable with that.
we never heard like any nonsense coming out with guys like that highly, rated with like we never heard Peyton Manning with shit. We never really
Well,
you know what I mean? We
yeah,
never
go
heard
ahead.
there's a lot of like garbage, with Andrew Luck, with CJ Stroud. You never heard CJ Stroud, you only heard about his dad. You know what I mean? It's like that
Yeah,
wasn't
but you
even
see,
him.
that's the thing, though. I had to go back. I had to go back. Was there a lot of hype around Peyton Manning? Absolutely. There was tremendous. If you recall that particular draft, it was him and Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf was supposed
Yeah.
to be just up there with him. And what was the knock on Peyton? If you remember back then, because I always remember this, he could never beat Florida. Steve Spurrier
Oh
had his
yeah,
fucking
right.
number in college, and he
That's
could
right.
never beat him.
Forgot
And
about
that
that.
was the whole knock on fucking Peyton Manning. Oh, he can't win the big game. He couldn't beat Steve
That's
Spurrier. Blah, blah,
right.
blah. And even the first couple of years in the NFL, if you take away his rookie year, which was disastrous,
It
but
was
after
great.
year one, year two, and there forward, he couldn't beat Belichick forever. And
That's
then
right.
that was the knock. And it was like, oh, there's always one cocky defensive minded coach that could beat fucking Peyton Manning. And then finally got over the hump. And then he got the 3 Super Bowls, won two of them, four of them, and won two of them, and all that kind of good stuff. But, it's just funny how, that was the knock on Peyton. Yet you take, you fast forward, I don't know, 20 something years later or whatever it is, and there's no knock on Caleb Williams. Nothing. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the only thing that's kind of there is that he
Paints his
has
nails.
the huh? Well,
He paints
yeah.
his nails.
Yeah, he paints his nails and he goes crying into the stands after a loss to his mama.
All right. He
You know,
wants he wants a piece of the franchise and
I
shit
mean,
like that.
but you know what I mean? It's like, dude, you really want to be shown on your senior year crying in the stands with your
I
mom
know.
after a regular season loss? It
I
wasn't
know.
even like, listen, you get to the national title, you put everything in there, you're
Right.
playing for the chip, and you lost that game. I can see you being emotional. You see guys cry all
Right.
the fucking time.
Of
When you
course.
lose a regular season game at home and you go
You
running
crying,
into the
mom.
stands to hug your mom,
You think that fits
oh,
well in New
this,
York? You think that fits well in
ah,
New York media and
no,
the
for real.
fans?
For
Those
real. You know what
motherfuckers
I
will
mean?
eat
Like,
you alive.
oh, dude. And that's, again, those are some of the red flags that I see about him. But the hypes have always been there. And the reason why I brought that up with Peyton Manning is just that was part of the reason why this guy, Ryan Leaf, was almost right there with him.
Yeah,
And
he was
that's why
right
they were
there.
just like, it was a coin flip for the two of those guys,
I remember that.
Even
Yeah.
even when you fast forward and you go to the Andrew Luck draft, RG3 was right there
RG3.
with him.
Yeah.
RG3 was right there with him. And the funny shit with that is when you look at it and it's all said and done, and you look at these guys' final numbers, and I get Andrew Luck's career was cut short, and so was RG3's. But Kirk Cousins, who Washington ended up taking in the third round of that draft, might be the best in the whole fucking draft. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Real.
it's just crazy how you look at these drafts. And that's the reason why when I see something as absurd as what CBS had there, where the Giants would not only move up to get a quarterback, but then they end up taking a guy like JJ McCarthy, who, yes, his numbers are very efficient, right? He's flirted with 3,000 yards, but then again, he was in a run first style offense. We're one of the best offensive lines in the country playing at Michigan. And yeah, he did just win a national title, but there's so many of those guys. There's been so many of those kind of quarterbacks that just didn't turn the ball over, let the game come to them, played on a very talented team, and won championships.
That's it.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say?
You got to get
And that's
lucky
what
too.
worries me about him.
You got to get lucky too, like being a rookie quarterback going to the right place.
You have to.
Not a real shitty team with shitty coaches. I mean, look what happened to the poor kid, going to the fucking Carolina Panthers. That team is
Bryce Young.
voided of talent. Yeah, Bryce Young. Like so,
Right.
it's tough. It's tough on these guys. But like, what is your like in order of your QB prospects in this draft? Obviously,
See,
you got probably Caleb going first, right?
I mean, I do, but it's more by default than anything else. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm like, but then I look at the other guys, and I guess I have to put Williams first. just because I feel like some of these other guys, they're a little on the smaller size.
Yeah, they're
Their
all
height is
that's
there.
yeah.
Their height is definitely there, but their weight, like you take like Jaden Daniels, he's what, like 6'4", but he's like 210.
I guess yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
He
like
got like
Sean.
four
It's like
inches
Sean
on me.
Bradley. It's like Sean Bradley playing football and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
That's the
and they
new. That's
showed
the new NFL, Jules. That's what it
I
is now.
don't, but is
That's
it though? I mean, like you look at Josh Allen, he's 6'4", 235.
yeah. He's
You know what I
definitely
mean?
different.
Like he's a big dude, right? Like, so we got a bunch of Lamar Jacksons coming in this draft, right? Maybe Caleb isn't Lamar Jackson and his style of play looks a little more similar to Pat Mahomes, but that doesn't mean his decision making is the same,
I get
right?
that.
Like he could look like Pat Mahomes, but it doesn't mean he's going to play like Pat Mahomes, right? And that's why I'm like very cautious with him. Where look, Drake May could be the guy too. I mean, he's fucking super athletic. That kid's running all over the place. I'd still have him as my number 2, to be fair. I know Jaden
You have
Daniels put
Maya
up
too.
a fucking
Okay.
a sensational season, and he looked, he didn't do much. He didn't do much in the combine either. None
Okay.
of these guys really did anything, so it kind of pisses me off because those top
It's
3
tough.
guys, they didn't do shit. You know what I mean? So now we're looking at this. That's why JJ McCarthy's fucking getting all the buzz he's
I
getting, and
know.
Bo Nix
Like
and
why?
fucking all these other guys. And the quarterback over in fucking Notre Dame because he ran the fucking 40-yard dash and his hair was flowing all nice and everything. He was going to get a commercial somewhere. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for real.
At
All
the
right. So
very least, if you don't get drafted.
so you have Caleb, you have May, and then you have
And
Jaden.
then I have Daniels. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean
That's my top
that's the
3.
contestants anyway. So now
Yeah.
you got JJ, Nix, and Penix.
So JJ, because he looked the best out of the 3 to me in the combine, I put him 4th now. Then
Okay.
Penix, then Nix. That's how I have the top 6 rounded out. And then Rattler would fit in around 7th if you want to still continue to throw out that name.
So yeah, still put him in there. So that'd be 7.
That's my
Like
7 right there.
I mean,
Again, like I said,
that's why this year is like this year is for the quarterback. I'm telling you, this is what I think is going to happen, Jules. I like. No, sorry about that noise. I think it's going to be for the Giants, right? I don't think they're going to get a quarterback at 6. I think what's going to happen, right? We're going to get the best player available at 6. I think it's going to probably be a wide receiver, the way it's like looking. And I think in the second round, because we got 2 second rounders, I think we possibly might use one of those second rounders to move back up late in the first round to draft a Bo Nix, a Penix, or JJ. Like maybe not JJ because he's getting hyped up too much, but or even Rattler, maybe that's or they wait to the second round to get him. But I think they're definitely gonna get a quarterback. I just happen to think it's gonna be in the second round or late first. What do you think?
and who do they make the trade with, right? Like did they end up because Washington's not trading, right? Carolina now gets their first pick of the draft to start the second round, so they ain't fucking trading. You know what I mean? Unless you're giving up way too much for that one again, and now you're giving up a fucking lot for a second round pick, right? So that leaves us with New England. New England, I guess, is the possibility to trade with to move up. I don't know.
I don't think they're moving
like that
up.
would be the soonest that you would do it. But then you're also a couple of picks away at that point, right?
Yeah,
Then it's Arizona. They didn't take a quarterback. They're not taking a quarterback. Then it's the Chargers. They're not taking a quarterback. So at that point in the second round, there's no reason to even trade up.
okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's how I'm thinking of it. That's why there's so much emphasis on this 6th pick and what's going on opening day with that draft.
So you really think that we could wait until the second round to get one because nobody's really going to like trade back up in the first to get a guy that falls?
I mean, could other teams try to jump in? Sure, but again, like I said before, you have Carolina with their first pick of the NFL draft in that first pick of the 20 in the second round.
Okay.
Why would you trade that? They clearly need all the help they can fucking get. And they got a young quarterback that's going to need a lot of help. So they fucking are desperate for that pick.
Or they trade for more picks.
Maybe.
Because they need a lot.
I mean, but then you're talking like you're going to probably have to give them your second round, your third round.
I don't think it'll be that.
Else.
I don't think it'd be that much to move up there. I don't, maybe like a second and a fifth or sixth, some shit like that. I don't think it'll be that much, but it'll be
maybe. I mean, it's a hard maybe there. I mean, what I could see happen is I could see this draft go crazy. I could see something along the lines of, Caleb going 1 and then 2, Washington taking Jaden Daniels, right? Which would be a little bit of a surprise, but maybe not because that's your number 1 quarterback, right? So they take him there, and then all of a sudden New England turns around and says they don't want a quarterback. They don't think they need it, or they're going to go and sign a veteran. Maybe they bring in a Russell Wilson or someone like that, and they go Marvin Harrison there. And now all of a sudden the freaking gates open up, right? And now
Yeah.
shit is all now it's the Wild West. Because you still have Drake May out there, you still have JJ McCarthy, you still have the Vikings, you still have the fucking Broncos, you still have the Raiders that might want to trade in. Arizona's guy is gone now, and now the fucking doors are wide open, right?
That's
Like I said,
I
it's
know.
gonna be interesting.
That's why
It's gonna be interesting.
That's why I think, Jules, the Giants are putting out this whole smoke screen how they want a quarterback, because I think they want a team to jump up ahead of them to like number 5 just to draft a quarterback so they could get their guy that they really want on the board, which maybe it is one of these wide receivers or my wild card, which people really went after me when I posted on Twitter. I said my wild card's Brock Bowers, you know what I mean, the tight end. I'm like, he's fucking nasty. That's like, we don't need a tight end. It's like drafting a fucking running back. I'm like, all right, calm down, guys. It's just me throwing it out there. You just never know what the fuck, I get you want a quarterback, but like this, but I'm telling you, this is the draft of quarterbacks. I don't think any of these top 6 in my eyes bust. I think they'll all be good. I said obviously JJ and maybe make it possibly like be a bust. Do you see any of these like 6 guys like potentially being a bust if you had
they all could. I can see all of them busting. To be honest with you, right? I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think. The likelihood of 6 out of 6 busting is very small. But any of the 6, if they busted, I wouldn't be shocked.
Wow,
is that fair?
Yeah,
that's the way. Honestly,
yeah, I guess that's fair.
And again, here's the thing with this, right? Caleb could go on and play in the NFL for 10 years and have an average career and maybe even extend it an extra few seasons and, say 14 years, but 5 of them where he was a backup, and in the other 9 years, he bounced around and was a starter on 3 different teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? Is that really a bust? No, guy had a good NFL career. But is it the hype that he's fucking getting right now? Is he this generational quarterback that's going to get ready to challenge Pat Mahomes for fucking not just one, but multiple chips? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's the hype that's surrounding this kid. Look, I remember seeing this kind of hype around Trevor Lawrence, but it wasn't this fucking much. And Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be that generational quarterback.
Right. He was
remember,
nasty.
being in New York, we saw it on the fucking post when the Jets beat Jacksonville in that game. Oh, the Grinch stole Christmas, and they fucking had pictures of Trevor Lawrence all over the fucking place because the Jets won that fucking game and didn't get Trevor Lawrence, right? And you look forward. Is he developing into a good quarterback? Yes, he is. Is he better than he was? Yeah, he's a good, solid quarterback.
Yeah, but is
he the best elite quarterback in the NFL? Not even fucking close, dude.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like that's why I could see Khalid being a bust because he falls into that category where it's like, bro, if you're not number 1, 2, or 3 in the next 2 years, then you're a bust because that's what you're being hyped to fucking be. So that's why I see him busting. Jaden Daniels, like I said, he's a little fragile for me. He's a big guy. He runs hard, but I saw him take some big hits at LSU, man. And like, he takes those kind of hits in the NFL. That dude's gonna be out. Look at Anthony Richardson. That dude's bigger than him. Yeah. He's a bigger frame guy. And he got knocked out in a month of fucking playing in the NFL trying to run like that.
You gotta learn to slide.
Versus Jaden Daniels, like that dude's gonna get fucking broke, bro.
I mean,
it's like shit like that's got me concerned about these guys, And then Drake May, look, if Drake May keeps his head in the game and maybe has a year to really truly develop, because I know that's what they're saying about JJ McCarthy. And look, that's where we're at with the Giants as well. Like, yeah, great. We might take this guy at 6 or trade up and do shit. That's not day 1 starting. Unless Daniel Jones cannot go, he's not a day 1 fucking starter. He's going to sit down and be on the bench for at least a month of the season. No fucking question. People can't get that shit in their fucking brains with it. So it's like, we're moving up. We're drafting a quarterback. We're getting all this shit, but the guy we're not going to be ready till 2025 at this pace. Yeah, and now we're going to be some of the fucking guys we lost and shit. But
thank you. That's why I said that's why me personally I want the Giants to draft a quarterback in the 2nd round because then there's really no expectations for him to start right away. I mean, there will be because it's New York, but you could sit him for a whole year, right? And if Daniel Jones comes back from the injury, say that the Giants fix the offensive line in the draft and free agency, and Jones has a great year. And then this kid is ready to be the quarterback moving forward. He's shown it in practice. Dude, that's a great problem to have. Then all of a sudden, you have a guy that, hey, Jones's contract is not guaranteed after this year, really, but you could trade him, get a decent pick, and forever that team is taking a chance on him, they're really not tied to him long term. they only tied to him pretty much for that 1 year, and then they could pick up his option for his 4th year. So that opens the door. So I don't understand why all these like Giant fans are hating on Daniel Jones. Like, get him out of here. You want, for the sake of the team, for him to be good, for Giants to have a good year. So you have trade bait and you have the future kid that's going to come in, just like, hopefully, fingers crossed, with Alex Smith and Mahomes. That's what you want as a Giants fan. You want to get that position right. That's what I want, me personally.
And
And I
listen,
love
and
Jones.
I know that they're saying that this quarterback draft is gonna rival the great one that you saw 30 for 30, the Elway one, the Elway to Marino, and
I said that. I did. I said it.
yeah. And listen, I don't know if that's true or not. I think that might be a little far-fetched because there are guys in college for this year coming that have legitimate shots. There's Carson Beck in fucking Georgia. He could be good. We'll see what he does this coming season, right? You have Quinn Ewers, the dude that's in Texas, that's literally holding up the Manning fucking, their nephew from starting. Like, give him another full season. Let's see what he is. Because the reason why he didn't come out in this year's draft is simply because of all the bullshit that's going on, and he would have to fight to be like the fourth or fifth best quarterback coming out. But that kid was right there in the mix. He might have been able to beat out Jaden Daniels this year.
I like. What I mean? And then, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and then there's Jackson Dart on Ole Miss. Watch. That's a name to keep in fucking mind for this year going into college. So there's always players. Yes, it might not be as talented. It might not be as deep. It could be I don't think it's going to be as bad as the year of like Kenny Pickett. Yeah. But like, I get where they're going with this, right? So I don't know, man. Like I said, the way this shit is heading right now, it's going to make me I'm getting a little nervous for this year's draft, because if I see some bonehead shit, like we end up like, let's just say, like the majority say the first 3 picks off the board are all quarterbacks, and Marvin Harrison goes, and all of a sudden the Chargers are sitting there with that 5th pick, and they're getting phone calls from the Raiders, from the this, from the that, and we got to trade up, and we end up we trade up for J.J. McCarthy. Like, dude, I feel like that's Daniel Jones 2.0. How the fuck is he really any different? You know what I mean? You're going to tell me J.J. McCarthy looked that much better at this point in his career than fucking Daniel Jones did coming out of Duke?
I know. I agree with you there. I don't see it.
It's crazy, dude. I don't know.
Well,
but anyway, and unfortunately, like I said, the quarterbacks really didn't do much. The best takeaways from the combine were defensively, right? Some of those edge guys, they really, really stepped up. I mean, Chop Robinson out of Penn State, that dude was the fastest fucking edge rusher. They were saying he was a day 2 guy. Look, I've been saying this. I'll continue to say this until draft. If he somehow is sitting there with that pick for us in round 2, I would fucking love that guy to be on our fucking team. You got the edge rusher out of Alabama. There was a few of those guys. The kid Xavier, for the wide receiver Xavier Worthy from Texas. Yep. That dude could fly, man. He literally has set the record in the combine for the fastest 40-yard dash. And of course, they predicted that he might end up in fucking Kansas City. I hope that ain't the fucking case. That would just be fucking ludicrous, right? You know what I mean?
I caught a little bit of the combine. I see Jerry Rice's son, like, up there. Right. A lot of them talking good about the Giants. So yeah, was any other guys that stood out in the combine or not?
I mean, like I said, Turner from Alabama.
The guys throwing pajamas. They're in pajamas throwing balls and running fast. I mean, I can't sit there and watch it. It's so fucking. But put some music behind it.
You're right. I tried to watch a little bit of it, but watching it is it's like watching paint dry.
It drains.
But I do like to see the results.
Right.
So I watched some highlights of the results. So I did watch the Kid Worthy run. I mean, damn, that's fucking, dude. That's fast.
That is fast. I see that.
That is fucking just fast, bro. Like, I don't even think if you give me one of those little like motor scooters, I can go that fucking fast at 40 yards. Like, that shit was quick, fucking bro. Way.
Yeah,
that shit was quick, dude. Like, shit like that stands out. If you see someone throw up like, maybe 30, 45 reps in a fucking bench press, like, that's impressive. I do look for those kind of things. So
yeah,
those are some of the names that stood out. There wasn't much more to it than that. Like I said, a couple of receivers still look pretty good. I mean, Romo Dunze is a guy that I absolutely love.
Dude,
I honestly, I'm at the point now.
I like it.
I feel like Odunze and Neighbors are neck. They're right there. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
If they're both there at 6 and we have to make a choice, I'm glad I'm not the GM and I have to choose between the two. You know what I'm trying to say?
Good point, man.
I'd rather one of them be off the board and I just take the other guy.
You know what? If we grab one of those guys, you know what's good? They, because both of them play outside, and that'll bring back Hyatt to play the slot where he played in fucking Tennessee.
So the
And
way you put Wendell.
I mean, Wendell could fucking pretty much do it all, to be honest with you. That dude's like, he's like a little gadget guy. You can
Yeah,
move
he
him in the
is.
slot,
He
you can
is.
move him outside, you could do end arounds. That's a great problem to have him, Hyatt, and then like, one of these rookies like step right in. I mean, they definitely then obviously fill the offensive line, but man,
And
that'd be
the only
nice.
thing I keep saying is that Rome is a little taller than Neighbors. I think Neighbors comes in at like 6'1", and Rome is at like 6'3", right? Like a true 6'3". We don't have that. So you got a guy that has the good speed, good route running, was one of these top receivers in this draft. That's the only thing that gives me a slight edge with Rome over fucking Neighbors, but it's so fucking close that I would be happy with either one. I can't complain. I mean, then you go to the fucking, you go to the tackles, right? We could go that route too. I don't know if we will, but
I
we
doubt it.
could. It would be boring, but at the same time, like, man, if we just build these offensive defensive lines and then worry about getting a quarterback after that's built, it could work. I get it. Joe Burrow, his line sucked, but he still hasn't won a championship, right? You know what I mean? So like, you need the line, but I don't know. But don't forget, chances are we probably get, one of the better tackles if we went that route. The kid Alt from Notre Dame, and then the kid, I'm gonna butcher his last name, but the one from Penn State. So those guys would be there too. I don't think Brock Bowers this year though, and it's just it's not the right fit. It's just
Yeah,
not.
I wouldn't mind the tackle either, but then you're moving the guy from left tackle to right tackle in the NFL too. Uh,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
concerning a little bit, but listen, who the hell knows? This draft apparently is very deep on offensive linemen and guards in general, tackles. So I think, it's good that the Giants have 2 second-round picks because I think they really go that route in the second round without a doubt.
And that's the
If
whole
you get a
reason
wide
why.
receiver, quarterback, and a fucking offensive lineman with the first
Right.
2 picks, perfect.
Right.
I'll take it.
And that's why I don't want to trade up, because you're gonna lose one of those second round picks. You're giving up that. I think you're giving up a first and a second next year, and possibly a player. Like, come on, dude. I don't give a fuck unless and I think I've joked about this, and I'm not sure if I said it on the podcast, but I definitely have said it in some of our messages and shit with each other. I would like question giving up a first, a second this year, a first, a second next year, fifth round pick, and Ozzie Ojulari for actually Pat Mahomes. You know
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
right,
say? Like the
right.
Kansas City Chiefs are like, we'll do that trade and we'll give you Pat Mahomes. I would still kind of be like, all right, it's a good trade, but is it? And you want me to do that for an unproven rookie? Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. I can't stomach it. And I get people throwing back at me
I
about
know.
Eli Manning. Whoa, we did it for Eli Manning. Eli Manning was more politics, first of all. Right. Number one, the Chargers did that shit on purpose. They didn't give a fuck. They wanted either Roethlisberger, they could have went with Rivers, or they could have went with Manning. But they knew, like you mentioned earlier in the pod, was that back then shit for like the Giants shit was leaked out all over the fucking press. Everyone knew what the Giants wanted. So going into that draft, everyone knew they wanted Eli Manning because Eli Manning wasn't supposed to be the number one pick off the board.
Yeah.
And what did the Chargers do? They went and they did that shit on purpose because they knew the Giants had a hard on for him and they would give it up. And you remember the first, 3-4 seasons, all we kept hearing about was how he landed on the linebacker. Phillip Rivers is just as good, if not better. Fucking they landed on this position player. The Chargers got that all because of this trade. And that shit was thrown in Giants fans' faces for like the first 4 or 5 years of fucking Eli Manning's career. And then finally we go on to beat the Patriots, right? But until that point, we were hearing all that type of shit. Oh, we could have got Roethlisberger. We could have got this. Right. Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah.
Not gonna lie.
I don't want to deal with that, dude. I don't want to deal with that.
Dude, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because you're right. I honestly, if the Giants ended up with Phillip Rivers, that would have been pretty fucking nasty. You know what I mean? Don't forget, Eli, like we all love Eli. He won us 2 titles. No knock on him. But what was always knock on Eli? He was never like this big fantasy football guy. Nobody was really drafting him every year except me. You know what I mean? But it's like that's what it was. It was like, all right, he's not the top fucking like 10 quarterbacks that's gonna fucking light it up. He'll have his good games, he'll be clutch. But don't forget, he was still a little shaky. Remember the first Super Bowl? That ball, Asante Samuel should have just fucking picked it off. It was right in his fucking hands. You know what I mean? I don't know how if they picks that off, game over. Who the hell knows if Eli or Tom Coughlin even come back to the team? That's how crazy football is, man. It's just a couple plays changes everything in this fucking
F-
game because there's only 17 games in a season now, so you don't have that much time.
Right, right. It's not like basketball where the fucking whole Knicks team could take a fucking month or two off and still make the playoffs.
Right. Yeah,
And
that's I
then
mean
be
that's
healthy, and then maybe they make a run. Who the fuck
right.
knows, right?
That's what's
Football's way
happening
different
now.
out here.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah,
All right.
I know.
So
That's what I went in there.
let's I don't want to go down the Knicks road right now, but let's take
Yeah.
a quick commercial
That's another
break.
whole podcast by itself.
Yeah, I might have to start a Knicks podcast, but let's take a quick commercial break and then we'll get back. We'll start talking about two guys the Giants kind of put towards free agency. They might put them out to the pastures. It's Barkley and McKinney. So we'll talk that and we'll be right back on the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. All right, we're back on the BBO NYG podcast. I'm Mike. That's Jules. All right, Jules, we're not going to agree with this one. McKinney and Barkley, both. Well, first off, McKinney, the Giants didn't put the transition tag on him because if they did and lost him, they wouldn't have got any compensation picks. So it was smart that Joe didn't put the transition tag on him because now if he signs a contract, they are up for a comp pick if he signs a new deal with a new team, which is
We
very
know
important.
so it depends
right
on
there.
it's based on performance or
I don't know how it's based on, but most likely. And then obviously Barkley, they did the right thing. They're not going to tag him, even though I'm pretty sure they would have. But I'm sure that was kind of a deal those two sides had it worked out. Go out, see what your best offer is, and then come back to us. I think the Giants and him once Barkley goes out and see what's out there. I think he's in for like a little bit of a rude awakening. I don't think he's gonna obviously break the bank. What I'm hearing now is like 10 million, maybe a little bit, a couple million more per year. And I don't think that's a bad deal, especially if you are moving on from Daniel Jones. You want to have that security blanket for a rookie quarterback. But does Barkley want to deal with that shit and go through another couple years like that? Or he could go to another team that has a nice offensive line, that has a nice young team that could go to the playoffs right away. Does that intrigue him to leave the Giants? So it's a lot into it. Obviously, I want Barkley to stay. You've been saying Barkley should have went a couple years ago.
last year.
My deal is so.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna move off of what I've been saying, and not only that, too. If you really truly are a fan of Barkley, I can't say that the Giants are going to be Super Bowl contenders in 2 years. They could. I mean, shit could always work out where a couple of guys develop, they hit on a few big picks, and then all of a sudden they free up cap and they bring in the right guys. Yeah, sure. But the likelihood of this team being that ready to play in the Super Bowl in 2 seasons is low. And for that matter, you know what? If you really like the guy Barkley because you like his personality, and look, Barkley reminded me he's like an NFL version of Carmelo Anthony, right? I love Syracuse basketball. Carmelo Anthony came to the Knicks. I was fired up, and then it didn't work out.
Yeah,
right? I'm a big Penn State football fan. I was loving it. Barkley was a beast in college. We fucking drafted him, so I couldn't really hate the pick. I hated that we took him where we took him, but I didn't hate the pick because I loved the player.
Right.
And now I'm at a point where it's just like, I don't know if he helps this. He's going to help the team because of his talent, but in the long run, I don't know if he helps the team. And that's my concern with Barkley, where I'm like, look, maybe, but how effective is he going to be 3 years from now? You know what I mean? With all the injuries, he's still an injury risk. He didn't even rush for 1,000 yards last season, dude. I know. You know what I'm saying? Like we're holding on to what he was and what his promise was. Could he go to maybe a team like the Texans, or there was a couple other teams, maybe Minnesota, and like light it up there? Possibly.
I think he was.
For 1,100 yards, have a good one real good season. Yeah, but I just don't see the longevity. And that's the problem with Barkley. I'd rather see him go to more of a contending type team and have like a season or two to kind of ball out and win than ball out on the Giants, and occasionally take a playoff here and there. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want to see it anymore. I'm bored with it. If there's so much hate towards Daniel Jones, why is there so much less hate on Barkley? He's a great dude. I love his
they still hate him.
Nothing wrong with the person.
There's still a lot of hate.
From a business perspective.
There's still a lot of hate.
I hear from the guys that still hate that he was a number 2 overall pick. That's where all that hate comes from, right?
I know.
But I'm talking about other people that are fucking immediately like, the reason why we didn't sign Barkley because we signed Daniel Jones. I'm talking about those guys, right?
Yeah, those are the worst.
Like, why don't you look at what his numbers are? His numbers aren't outstanding anymore. He's explosive. Yes, he can break one. but like Zach Moss did the same shit he did. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
know.
Jacobs has done the same shit that he's done now. You know, he's on that level, and people got to understand that that's it. Like the guy he's gonna have a good NFL career. He's not gonna be great.
He's the best one. He's the top running back on the market. Now Joe Mixon just got released because they're saving Cincinnati like 6 million. So now you got him on the market. Josh Jacobs, obviously, like a lot of like these running backs are out there. So
Zach Moss.
I don't think it's going to be that crazy of a contract. It's going to be interesting to see like what happens. I am in a part of me, like if Barkley does go, I hope he really just lights it up and goes for like fucking 2,000 yards, just so I could go after all these fucking people hating on Barkley for years. That's been in my mentions. I'm like, see what we fucking lost, you asshole. That's why you keep good players on the fucking team. But anyway, moving
Listen,
on.
I don't see Barkley becoming Christian McCaffrey, what Christian McCaffrey became on the 49ers. I just don't see that.
He has the capabilities.
I can't, man. I honestly just can't. Is it
but
like
Jules, did anybody on the offense of the New York Giants do anything besides him the last couple of years? We have no wide receivers that really didn't do shit. Slayton?
But also, too, you're talking about a team that had a really shitty offensive line. Quarterback play has been in question since the last 2 seasons of Eli Manning. You know, we're always bitching that we don't have wide receivers. So who the fuck else are you going to center in this offense? You got to give the ball to somebody. You know what I mean? So
I know.
I think that's what part of it is. You know, I think. Look, if that kid, I think his last name is Williams, the running back that's in the Rams right now. He had that really good year.
Kyrie,
yeah, right.
Kyrie Williams from Notre Dame.
Right. Yep, from Notre Dame, right. If he didn't have this type of season he had, and then Barkley went to say the Rams, and you put him in a McVay style offense, maybe he could be like a poor man version of Christian McCaffrey, where he'll have that type of dynamic season. But he's not. He's not going to go there. He's going to maybe go to Texas, maybe Minnesota, right? Minnesota's got to worry about getting Justin Jefferson back in house. You know what I'm trying to say? And they don't have a quarterback right now. So they got question marks. So that's not even a good fit. To me, the best fit for him is probably Texas.
Texans, yeah.
It really is. Because they're ready to go. They got wide receivers. They got their quarterback. They're gonna have a decent pick. They can get some more offensive lineman help. They got an outstanding defense. You know, well, maybe not outstanding, but they got a good young.
They got a real good defense, yeah.
Got rookie of the year on both sides of the ball. I mean, that's a team that he could bowl with. But I just don't know if he's ready to, be that. I still don't see him having 1,500 yards rushing and another 800 through the air with 90 catches. I just don't see that. What I would see him on Texas, I'd see him run for about 1,100, 12, somewhere in that neighborhood, possibly. About 1,100 is about fair. Maybe catch for about 400, have about 40, 45, 50 catches. I see something in that range, which is pretty fucking good. All right. Could Barkley end up on the Chargers? Possibly. He could end up on the Chargers. Eckler's the free agent. That's another one we missed. Eckler, I don't know if they're going to re-sign Eckler. He hasn't been much of a runner through the tackles. I mean, that guy hasn't had a 1,000-yard season in his career. All the fantasy relevance you want to talk about Austin Eckler, it doesn't come from him running. It comes from him catching.
Yeah, all the fucking screens.
Yeah.
He was always like a third down back in my eyes, Eckler, anyway.
So, I mean, to me, I guess the two landing spots for Barkley that I would think would be most beneficial for him is probably Texas or the Chargers.
Okay.
That's it.
Right.
And we're at a point in the Giants like that. Running back can't be our best position, nor should we be throwing, $12, $13 million a year into that spot. We just can't right now. There's too many fucking holes. And you want to blame Daniel Jones' contract? Fine. Blame his contract. What would you rather have done? What would you rather have done? Would you rather be paying somebody $15 million and that frees up the extra 25 to do what with? Who are you bringing in?
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter.
If we switch sides of the ball, we bring it down to Xavier McKinney. I was very surprised that they didn't tag him, but I guess with the the picks and everything else that could come out with it after he signed somewhere else, I get it. Look, I was so kind of like hurt more by that than anything else, just because he's younger, he's been healthy, he hasn't missed a fucking game.
I know.
He's still one of the top safeties in the fucking league. But then I saw Poyer get cut from the Bills, and I'm like, holy shit, that was the rock. I know Poyer's 32 and fucking McKinney's 26, so there's no comparison in that. But teams let go of these guys at times. It's just because they don't fit, and you need shit done everywhere else. And this is going to be a deep draft for wide receivers, offensive linemen, safeties. So and quarterbacks. So that's what they're saying. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe we
Well,
had to take safety around too.
well, McKinney, like they did try to sign him during the year. They were trying to negotiate with him for most of the fucking season, but it's obviously like he wants like probably top fucking money, and you can't
Yeah.
fucking blame
He
him. He
wants to
had
be a
a good
top five
year.
paid safety. No doubt.
I figured like the Giants would sign him, especially after like Wink going because him and Wink didn't get along, right? So I just assumed
I
like, all
thought
right,
I thought he did. I thought that was Wink's
no,
boy.
no,
No, okay.
no, they had like arguments and shit. Like that's where Dable had to step in, and that's why like he kind of gave like McKinney like let him talk to the defense before a pregame after they had an argument. So that was something during the season that went down. But then you start looking at a guy like how Dane Belton played like going down the stretch. He had some really fucking impressive games the last 3, 4 games of the year. Then you're like, oh shit, maybe we could survive with him and Jason Pinnock there as our safeties. And then you have obviously Banks is a number one fucking corner. He's fucking nasty. And then you probably sign a corner. So I won't letting him go, yeah, would suck. But I kind of understand like the Giants, like where they're going, especially if he wants like this crazy amount of money. Kind of just like, all right, you let him walk out the door.
Yeah, and I can't think of the name right now, but the starting safety for the Titans last season is also
Bird,
a free. I
Bird.
think so. Yeah, I think so. He's a free agent, and you know what? We just signed their defensive coordinator. So like, you
Oh
bring in a
yeah,
guy
right.
like that, you know what I mean? Who's going to come in and he's going to be on a little bit of a discount, right? And you bring him in to replace McKinney. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm not sure. So it's going to be an interesting next few weeks. Free agency starts next Monday,
9
and it's going to
days.
be really interesting to see how this whole thing shapes out.
Yeah, 9 fucking days. All right, I think that's a wrap, Jules. Before we go,
Yeah, I mean, look,
I
it, it
wanted
was an
wanted something
interesting
before
couple
you
of
go, Jules.
days.
So go ahead,
Uh-huh.
finish up. Finish up. I got something before we go.
Oh no, yeah, drop it now. Fuck it.
Oh yeah, well, I was just saying, like, this is. I mean, I'm sorry to mention the Eagles, but this is a nice story. Jason Kelsey retired.
Yep.
His athletic trainer, is going through chemo. So before his retirement press conference, because the guy, missed his last game in Tampa in the playoffs when they lost, he had him tape up his ankles for his retirement. So I thought that was
All
a
right, that's
pretty
cool.
yeah, I thought that was a pretty good move on Kelsey. I read that before, so I just wanted to shout him out on that, man. So good job,
Yeah,
Kelsey. I wish he was
you
a
know what?
fucking Giant, man. It would be nice to have him on the Giants, I'll tell you that.
For real, I was getting ready to say, like, out of all the hate I have towards the Eagles and that franchise and the city and all that kind of shit, I never once turned around and said I hated Jason Kelsey.
Me neither.
There
He
was
wasn't an
nothing
asshole.
to hate. Like, he was just a good, hardworking dude. And then, like, in his last year, because his brother's dating fucking some pop star, he went a little crazy and had a little fucking fun. Like,
Right.
who would? You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck my,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, he went out like a champ in a way.
He
Sucked
did.
it in,
He did.
and wasn't he part of the Eagles Super Bowl team?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
Yeah,
the
of
dude got a
course.
chip. He got a ring. He fucking,
Of course he did.
yeah, man. It's a solid fucking career, and go out while the team is still relevant. You know what I mean? Before they're in that full rebuild, and it gets a little business like, and you got to let them go. You know what I mean? But yeah, hats off to him. Good guy. All that good shit. Nothing bad to say about him for sure. But yeah, man. Look, last couple of weeks have been a little crazy. A lot of shit is being tossed around. Quarterback trade up, trade down, do this, do that, do this, that. There's pros and cons to everything. That's all I can say. And it's going to be real interesting to see what really hits the fan come next week when on Monday when free agency opens up. Hopefully we'll have something to talk
Yeah.
about free agency wise come next week, next Wednesday, so that we can come on broadcast and fucking do all this stuff and talk about it a little bit
Nice.
further. I definitely think there's going to be some splashes made. Whether or not it's the Giants or any of Giant players, that I can't promise. But I definitely think there'll be some big signings over the next few days. Because I even heard that like Zach Ertz signed like a 1-year deal with Washington. And then like the thing there is Washington loves fucking signing like washed up players. So
They do.
that's just something to kind of throw in the mix there. You know what I mean? But
They sure
it's
do.
gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of time left. The draft is literally fucking 6 weeks, 7 weeks away, right? Like, I mean, it's forever away. One quick thing with that, I just want to throw in, Mike. I just reminded talking about it was for years. I mean, years. That shit was always in Manhattan. I think since like fucking the 70s, that shit was in Manhattan, right?
Always.
then it was like what 2015 or 16, 17. They decided to start moving it around the country and making it into this hype thing and all this bullshit. I'm like, motherfuckers, you start to do that shit when the Giants suck and they actually have a top 10 pick or 2 top 10 picks like we had a year ago. And like where we could have went down to Radio City and fucking the first hour of the draft and then bounced. You know what I'm saying? Because the Giants were picked already. Like, I would have fucking missed that. And then this year, with all the bullshit going on, I fucking love to have this shit at this draft. So NFL, if you're listening, you need to bring the motherfucking draft back to New York, all right? So
I don't know. I gotta say, I had a great time
in NYC.
I had a great time in Nashville. I'm not gonna lie, man. That shit was fucking.
I hear you.
Draft.
But that's my vote. They need to bring that shit back. But look,
no doubt.
Free agency starts next week. We wrapped up a little bit of the combine. There's gonna be a lot of shit going on. Let's see what happens in free agency week 1. See if there's any big splashes. I guarantee there'll be 1 or 2. We'll be back on to speak of that, and then we got a month to just keep going back and forth and what the Giants should do at number 6.
Yeah, wait.
So that's what's coming up. I can't wait for that either. But until then, be safe. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Like and subscribe.
Go Giants.